Hi everybody. A couple minutes late, but we're here. Thank you for being here as always, except for the last couple weeks. So we've missed 2 weeks in a row of meditation. Last week was a scheduled week off. I was gone on vacation with my family. We went down to Tennessee for a few days. That was really, really nice. The week before that, had some things come up that I had to take care of, but yeah, I think I can count on, maybe one hand how many times we've missed one of these within the last 2 years that we've been doing this. So if you saw the intention post on Facebook or on Instagram, then you'll know that we are at the 2 year mark of doing these live meditations together. And it looks different than it did when I first started. So I when I realized that when I started thinking about like the anniversary of um, Tuesday night healing meditation circle was what it was originally first called, and then eventually I switched the name over to astrological healing circle. So when it first started, I wasn't in the same room that I'm in. I was in a different room. It was set up totally different, and although the inner workings of it was very astrologically based, I did not put it out there the way that I do now when I first started. So the intention was astrologically infused, and that's how I came up with it. That's always been the gist. But at first, I wasn't I wasn't discussing all of the astrological things that would go behind it. I would just put the intention together, and this is going to resonate with everybody in some way because it's what's around us, it's what's out there. And then eventually I slowly started trickling in the astrology stuff, and eventually I was kind of just like, why am I not fully putting this out there the way that I want it to be, the way that it should be, and the way that I fully intend for it to be. So somewhere along the way, don't know exactly when, wish I did so I could look at the chart of that time, just became full-blown astrologically based, which is absolutely what it is. But, like this session, how it makes me think, how it makes me feel, how it makes me contemplate, and just I'm required to get more in-depthly connected with the planets each week and held somewhat accountable because of the session that we have here every week. So I get that great benefit out of that, of having this more conscious connection that it kind of holds me accountable for. But really, 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 this would not be happening if it wasn't for all of you that participate with me, because if there were not views on Facebook, if there were not views on YouTube, if there were not people participating live and afterwards, I wouldn't be doing this still probably. And it all started with me just putting out a Facebook post on my personal Facebook profile, which was just something along the lines of, hey, if I started some sort of healing meditation circle, you can participate, vocally or not. Who would want to do that, where you're basically just sending, reaching into energies and sending love out to the world. And I had a lot of feedback, and then it just kind of molded and morphed, and here we are. So thank you, all of you, for being here as much as you possibly can in any capacity that is. Those of you that come here live and comment on here. Hey Rob, hey Melissa, it's good to see you guys. I appreciate you guys being here. Or watching the replays, or even just sharing it with somebody else that might enjoy participating in this meditation, sharing the posts or liking the posts, engaging with those posts really, really help a lot. Sharing it with others, reacting to the event, all of that stuff, all helps and all plays a key role. So our intention for this week, I allow internal and external regeneration. I allow external and internal regeneration. It's listed the other way, whichever way you want to flip it, whichever way it comes out of your mouth. Maybe if external regeneration comes out first instead of internal, then maybe that's the way it should be for you, and that's like your mind telling you something. Our intention 2 weeks ago where we did not have our session was I can remain grounded while being flexible. I can remain grounded while being flexible. And I feel like me dropping out kind of last minute kind of forced you all, if you were already kind of in with the intention, to remain grounded in your own way, find your own meditation. Hopefully you were all able to do that somehow, and being flexible while doing it, your Tuesday night thing, in a little bit of a different way. This week I allow internal and external regeneration. So if you have not heard the intention before now, go ahead and just kind of think on that for a moment. I always put the intention out Sunday, so that way you can take a peek at it yourself for however long you choose and just see what comes up. I think it's important that you take what I say and then take what your own mind tells you and kind of fuse the two together, because you can give yourself information that I absolutely cannot. Regeneration is a great word for me this week, this month, this year, Rob. Yeah, that's really, really awesome. And that's kind of part of the talk today, like regeneration. It's something that is happening within us, around us, all the time, right? So, even right down to the cells in our body. The cells within our body, they die off and then they're regenerated into new cells. The breath that we hold within meditation, or even just within your normal respirations of inhaling, exhaling, not consciously, just that autonomic process that happens within your own mind. It's a regeneration of the breath. Each time you have a cycle of an inhale and an exhale. So you breathe in, you breathe out, the breath is complete, and you're going to regenerate to the next breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Yeah, Melissa cells, there we are, we're connected there. So, there's every single, every day that we get up, like, that cliche saying that, like, tomorrow is a new day, every day is a new day and a fresh start. Our day regenerates every time that we wake up in the morning, and we do have that new fresh start. There's just lots of ways that shows up around us, and if we can tap into that on a deeper personal level, then that is just really, really, really cool. So hey, Nikita, good to see you here as always. Yeah, Nikita and Melissa have been here since the beginning, and Nikita, both of you are so faithful, but yeah, I don't know if either one of you guys have missed one, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I appreciate all of you guys that are here. Yeah. So, okay, we're getting a little bit off track here. So, intention for this week. I'm just gonna get my things up here. Okay, a few things that I want to talk about this week with our intention. So I want to start by focusing on the lunar cycles that we are around, and then wrap into the couple aspects that we have, like, this week. So we had a full moon in the sign of Capricorn last week. Sun was in early Cancer. I think it was 2 degrees. So 2 degrees of Capricorn full moon. Occasionally, when you have a full moon that happens at such an early degree, the next full moon happens about 28 days later. If you have a full moon that happens at a very early degree, you can possibly get a second full moon within that sign. Doesn't happen all the time, because it has to be literally within the first couple degrees, and then it ends up within the last couple degrees. Otherwise, you're going to bop over signs. So the lunar cycle is about 28 days, and there's 30 degrees in each sign. The sun takes about a day. So it's about 30 days that it takes for the sun to get through each sign, and that lunar cycle is about 28 days. So you only have those couple days of wiggle room to get this to happen, to get 2 full moons within the same sign. Remember that a full moon is when the sun and the moon are in opposite signs. So the full moon is in opposition between the sun and the moon. So We had a full moon at 2 degrees of Capricorn. We have a new moon that is going to be coming up here that we'll be talking about in the sign of Cancer. And then we have one last full moon in July, which is in Capricorn. So we had a full moon at 2 degrees of Capricorn, and we're going to have a full moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn with a new moon in the middle, of course, because that's the way the cycle goes. So along the Cancer-Capricorn axis, which are the two signs that are opposite of each other, we have full moon, 2 degrees, early degree, dipping our toes into it and kind of some sort of newness within this, within that height and that culmination. And then you have where the light of the moon starts to wane, it starts to fall away, so then the moon slowly starts to get darker. We move into the third quarter, and then the moon comes into the dark part right before the new moon, and then we come into a new moon. So things are starting to fall away. So we start out this process with this full moon where we have this height and this culmination of things that feel new, feel youthful, feel like maybe there needs to be a lot of, there's still a lot to do, like it's kind of just starting, just gestating, that type of thing. And then that type of thing kind of starts to fall away. We have a new birth within the new moon that we're going to have in the sign of Cancer along the same axis. So then you have a new seeding point. So then the light of the moon starts to grow again, and then we come into where the full moon, where the sun, or where the moon is fully illuminated, and giving you this visualization of this process across Cancer and Capricorn. Hopefully, you're kind of feeling that like regeneration, or you're kind of seeing that regeneration a little bit within this. So we start out with that nice bright full moon in Capricorn. It slowly starts to lose its light, and then we have this new seeding point in Cancer, coming back up into a height. Regeneration of the lunar light, which is a reflected light of the sun, of course, through the Cancer-Capricorn axis. So this month, we've been focusing so much on Taurus and Aries and things like that, still there, but this month, we're at the end of the month, right? So like through the next month or so through the end of June and into mid-July, focus on Cancer and Capricorn, where that is within your chart, okay? So we have this process here that we are all going through in some aspect of our lives, and it's going to be wherever the houses are where Cancer and Capricorn fall within your chart. If you don't know, just start thinking about your life and it'll just line itself up. We have this energy of this height, this falling away, and this decay and this ending of a cycle, and then this immediate beginning of a new cycle, and the cycle coming into a height, coming into another culmination again, within the same area. So it's a reworking of these areas, because we have that full process happening across the Cancer-Capricorn axis, where we go from the full moon, the height, down to the losing, or the falling away, and then that restart back up to the full moon. We go through that whole entire cycle right there, and we revisit that full moon. So there is some sort of focus on Cancer and Capricorn. Now, those two signs, since they're in opposition, like if the chart is a circle like this, I don't have it up, but the chart's a circle like this. Say if Capricorn is like up here, Cancer's going to be down here. Okay, if Cancer's over here, Capricorn's going to be over here. Like if Cancer's at the 3 o'clock position, then Capricorn's going to be in the 9 o'clock position, kind of like that. So within that axis, unless you are a Capricorn rising or a Cancer rising, which if you are, then it's probably even more amplified. There's probably even more visibility within this, because it's falling across your 1st and your 7th house on either way it falls, whether you're Cancer or Capricorn rising. But for everybody else, One of those houses are going to be in the lower hemisphere of the chart, which means it's going to be below the horizon. If you take the circle chart, chop it right in half, you have a top half, the northern hemisphere, and then you have the bottom half, the southern hemisphere. So one house is going to be in that below the horizon, and one house is going to be above the horizon for all the other rising signs except for the Capricorn and the Cancer rising. Um, Internal and external. So we say that the top of the chart above the horizon, those houses are all more visible, they're more public, they deal more with the public sphere and how we our place in the world, to say, where the lower half, or the like below the horizon, those are more private spheres. Those are more of the kind of inner workings of us. It has our family and our ancestry and our physical body and our health and things like that. Those are the things that are below the horizon, or maybe a little bit below the surface, or less visible. So you have that internal. You have whichever one is on the lower hemisphere, and you could kind of meditate on this and contemplate this in your own chart too if you have a copy of your own chart. And then you have one that's going to be on the top half of the chart in one of the top houses. So between like 8 and 12 houses, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So there's an internal part to this and there's an external part to this. That's a polarization that comes with full moons in general. But since we see this repeated, I feel like it bears, like, it needs a little bit extra love because we have 2 of these full moons. So wherever Capricorn is with your chart, there's definitely something going on here. And I think focusing on that process, that regenerating process, like visualize that full moon of full luminosity, all of its light, all of its glory, and then just picture the light slowly waning from one side to the next. And then picture that moon being nice and dark, can't see it, and then it slowly starts to gain its light back to a full moon. The regeneration that it goes through every month. That's another cycle that we see, another regenerating, like we were talking about the breath and the cells. The lunar cycles regenerate every month, and there are so many different cycles and processes across nature that correlate with that. We all know that. So one area private, one area public, one area internal, one area external, but a regeneration nonetheless. So that's the lunar cycle that I want you to kind of have in mind a little bit here as we talk about these couple aspects. Hi Mary, thanks for being here. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well tonight. Thanks everybody for saying hi on here too. I appreciate that you guys stopping by and say hi. Also, those of you that don't want to comment, don't feel like you have to. You can. That's the beauty of the live stream, is that you can do this in the privacy of your own home and nobody will ever even know that you're doing it. Okay, so a couple aspects that we have for this week. By the end of the week, both Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Pisces will be stationing for retrograde. So by early next week, Neptune and Saturn will both be in retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So the 2 planets that we have, they're both in Pisces for a long time, but they're both going into retrograde, and they have long retrograde cycles because they're the planets that move slower. Neptune being one of the outer planets. But I think it's interesting that they're both in the sign of Pisces. I think that's key. And I think it's key that one of which are Saturn, which rules Capricorn. So Saturn for the first full moon is in a direct position. For the second full moon, Saturn is in a retrograde position. So we have those typical retrograde things. So you have this reworking or this revision, or at least some sort of prompt for change, or like some sort of review within Pisces within our lives here. And Saturn reworking itself and kind of taking a step back feels like it resonates with the revisiting of the full moon. So we have the full moon in the sign of Capricorn when Saturn was moving direct, and then it's like Saturn slows down, starts moving backwards, starts revising things, revisiting, re-looking at things, and kind of retracing its steps as it starts to move backwards through Pisces. And then at the same time, we have the lunar cycle that's kind of doing the same thing. We have this height, this full moon in Saturn's sign, in the sign of Capricorn. And then within the month, we revisit that same full moon, now at the other end of the sign, but we still revisit that Capricorn full moon. And it feels like a process. It feels like a process of regeneration. That full moon is going to be at 29 degrees of Aries, so it's at that anaretic last degree. It's the full moon at 2 and the full moon at 29. It shows us, when you have something at an early degree, it shows a newness, a restarting. When you have something at the end degree, it shows you some sort of completion, some sort of knowledge or wisdom, some sort of history and path that this has already been through, where like the 2 is kind of just dipping its toe into it. So just dipping its toe into the Capricorn full moon, Saturn's moving forward. Everything happens throughout the month. Think of moving through Capricorn as kind of like maturing through the Capricorn traits, and then we get to 29 degrees. And this, let's say this more kind of like, I don't know, mature or experienced full moon is now with Saturn revisiting and revising. So it makes me think of like kind of that old, like the elderly family member that will say, oh, wait a minute, slow down. Let's not go quite so fast. Let's sit here together in our rocking chairs and enjoy the flowers or something like that. So it's a process. It's a process of going inward and going outward. The retrogrades tend to bring us a little bit more inward. So we started with the full moon with Saturn a little bit more outward, and then we have the second full moon with Saturn being a little bit more inward. Same thing with Neptune. Same exact thing with Neptune. So the seriousness, the things that we need to think about, the different foundations and the different frameworks that are dealing with these things that we are thinking about and the different processes, that's Saturn. Neptune is that intuitive connection that we have, that feeling within you and that little voice within you that tells you which way you should be going. It's that voice that knows everything because it's your higher self. Whether we listen to it or not, that's a whole nother story. Neptune also, what it does is it has things fall away, and I've used the idea before of like kind of like a smoke screen kind of disappearing, things just kind of slowly drifting away. And then Neptune kind of has things kind of fall away from us in a way that it makes room for something else. Or maybe it moves something out of our side of view that was maybe blocking something else that was behind it. It has that kind of dissolving factor within it. But it has that dissolving factor in the way that it shows us like sometimes what's truly there. Sometimes the smoke screen gets a little bit stronger with Neptune too, so sometimes there needs to be a little bit of discernment. There always needs to be discernment, right? With everything. So I think that both planets being retrograde by the end of the week falls in line with our intention, internal and external, and the regeneration portion of it. Because these planets are in the process of coming withinward in order to regenerate themselves to move back over the degrees that they've already traced a couple times here. And they're both in the sign of Pisces, which is reflective and contemplated in its own right, which leads to a reworking, which is similar to retrograde, which I feel like leads to a regeneration too, right? So like, it's like first you have the you have that reflectiveness and you have that contemplation and you have that Saturnian like judgment and like laying down kind of what's what, and then you have the reworking of it, and then things are kind of like being maybe taken apart, put together a different way, or done a little bit different way, and then you get the regeneration, right? Like it seems like it's kind of a little bit of a process. This week as well, quick aspect, but Saturn again, so I feel like it's important for us to touch on this week. Mercury trines Saturn tomorrow. So it's quick, but like I said, Saturn rules these full moons. So middle of this week, if the early part of this week seemed a little bit funky, maybe there will be a little bit more mental stabilization, or Mercury Saturn could be a serious conversation that we have to have with somebody. It could be a or looking at the way we think about things, looking at the way our mental processes are, looking at the way our mental health is as well, because that's a very mercurial process thing too. So it feels like there's this seriousness in the middle of the week that leads into that contemplative right that we have coming in towards the end of the week. Venus is squaring both of the nodes at the same time, and I feel like it's significant that both of these aspects are happening simultaneously. So as Mercury trines Saturn, remember that trines are of the nature of Jupiter, so they tend to expand things and make things a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, a little bit more visible, or a little bit more abundant. So you have this abundance of Saturn within our mind, and this ability to maybe compartmentalize and separate things a little bit. And at the same time, Venus is at the bending of the nodes, which is squaring both the south node and the north nodes. So anytime you hear of a planet squaring a node, you know that it's automatically squaring the other node at the same time. The difference that we have is what we call the north bending of the node and the south bending of the node. So since Venus has recently touched the north node compared to the south node, we're at what's called the north bending of the node. So it focuses a little bit more on the north node, which is in the sign of Aries. So we have some sort of tension that is reactivating whatever the solar eclipse energy was in the sign of Aries that has been playing out for us. Activating that, maybe not bringing up the exact same situations or how you experienced it, but maybe like the next step, or moving on with whatever was kind of seated at that eclipse. Some people have very significant things happen on the eclipse, but often it's more of like the starting of a process, especially with the solar eclipse too, because that's the new moon. So it's a seeding point. It's like a super seeding point. So activating the energy from Aries, pulling us towards that purpose, drive, fulfillment. Maybe if there was like an idea that was seeded, now we feel like we're going to start taking some sort of action on it, moving on it. But in the way that Venus gets the things that she wants. So what steps can we take in this process that are going to make our lives more balanced, bring us more harmony? How does this process of working, how does it deal with women and children within our lives, and friendships and kinship, and just all those wonderful, lovely things that we enjoy, treasure, and that we enjoy within our lives. All those fulfilling things. So I like that these two are happening at the exact same time, because it feels like as our mind is expanding in this kind of like, I used the word compartmentalize earlier, but that's not exactly the way, in this like structured way, as our mind is able to kind of look at different things and, see how the pieces work together or don't work together, we are also pulled towards wanting to find some sort of cohesion, some sort of balance through Venus squaring the nodes. And since it's going towards the north node, it's at the north bending of the node, it's pulling us towards something, moving towards something new. Gives us the motivation to want to do something different in some way. And then just after that, or almost simultaneously again, we have Venus sextiling Mars. So that's a cohesion of the two planets, of the masculine and feminine energy, the internal and the external energy, the introvert and the extrovert, the masculine and the feminine, the giver and the receiver. However you want to look at those two polar opposites. So you can use any words that you want to use. But Venus and Mars sextiling each other, especially with Mars in that superior position, putting a little bit of pressure and a little bit of drive and a little bit of motivation on Venus to reach for those things that she's motivated to reach for from the Aries things. Does that make sense? So there's this motivated regeneration, change, and quite frankly, action happening here. So I allow internal and external regeneration. I allow internal and external regeneration. We have this process within the lunar cycle from the full moon to the new moon to the full moon again within Cancer Capricorn. And we have a couple planets that are going to be going to retrograde, which is a revisiting or a reworking, just like revisiting that full moon in the sign of Capricorn. Anytime you revisit something, it's never exactly the same, right? There's always something different. I don't know, even if it's just the day of the week. Like, oh, we're doing this on Wednesday instead of Sunday or something like that. I don't know. But it's never quite exactly the same. So even though it's like at the 2 degrees and the 29 degrees, that just shows me the process and that regeneration and that like leveling up somehow. Okay, so yes. I allow internal and external regeneration. I've really been loving the I allow within our intentions, and I hope you guys are too, because it feels empowering. And Venus squaring the nodes, Venus being at the bending of the nodes, should feel somewhat empowering. It should feel at least motivating temporarily. Hopefully it's long term. Hopefully it's not just temporarily. But it feels like there's a process going on that is both internal and external here within the next month or so. So this intention that we have this week seems like it could be one you could carry with yourself for a little while. And remind yourself that you're within a process and things don't happen overnight. Not typically. Sometimes they do, but they don't always. So, Rob, it's empowering without being overbearing or obligatory. Yeah, I like that. Feeling empowered without feeling like you're being pushed or like there's too much. Like it's just the right amount of push and just the right amount of stress, maybe. Does that make sense? Like you're being gently pushed in the right direction, but you're not like, being shoved so much to where you lose your footing or something like that. So, Melissa, resonating, huh? Yeah. We can talk one-on-one anytime. Hi, Kathy. It's good to see you here, too. You can listen again later if that's when you're able to, but thanks for stopping in. I appreciate that. And thanks for saying hi, too. So, internal and external. Process of regenerating, a process of going through a process of change, a process of waiting for the right moment, as well as, asserting yourself and going forward and finding that balance. Cards for this week. Okay, so I picked a tarot and an oracle card, kind of like I have been doing, and the tarot card that popped up was the 8 of Cups. Look at that little octopus there. 8 of Cups. So, I instantly smiled at myself when I saw the 8, because 8 always makes me think of cycles and processes, and here we are talking about processes and waiting for the cycle and us regenerating and us kind of being reborn in some sort of way. And then we get the 8, which is, it's the infinity loop. It's an 8 no matter which way you do it, whether it's upright or it's on its side. It just keeps going. There's highs and there's lows, there's fast points and there's slow points, there's points that you just slide right down, and there's points that you have to climb back up. But Eight of Cups, I felt like that was very, very, very fitting. And the Cups is of the water element. Cancer is a water sign. Um, so, the Eight of Cups is very contemplative. It's very meditative in its own right of considering the support, considering our emotions and the community and all of these watery type things that are within our lives. Um, Usually dealing with others in some way. And it's about looking at all different parts of things. And I feel like that's kind of what we have going on here with Saturn, Neptune going retrograde and kind of reworking itself in Pisces. We have this relooking at Capricorn, Cancer repeatedly this month with the double full moon that we have in Capricorn. I was like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We are sitting here like our octopus friend, and we are consider. Oh my gosh, come on, it's because it's trying to pick up my face. Okay, we're looking at our octopus friend that has all of it is cups, and if you notice, there are 4 that are lower than the other 4. So there's 4 that are up higher and 4 that are down lower. Think about that visualization of the chart again that we were talking about how one house is on the lower half of the chart and the other house is going to be on the top half of the chart. I feel like that's a nice little significator. So he has all of these different cups and he's considering all of them, all of the different processes. The sun and the moon are both above, considering masculine and the feminine energy, considering everything that is around us. And cups, support. It tells me that there is support, community support somehow. And that support continues with the Oracle card. Okay, I gotta get this. Look how beautiful this is. Mother Earth. So the support, the community support, I feel like that is emphasized through this Mother Earth card. And that's what it says, is feel loved and comforted. So, Rob, I feel like this kind of goes back to your comment about not being like overbearing things, like empowering without being obligatory or overbearing, because feel loved and comforted. Don't feel so uncomfortable that, like, I don't know, you don't want to do the thing or say the thing or go do the thing or whatever it is. Like, you just don't want to anymore because it just doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good. And of course, we are always supported by this beautiful, wonderful Mother Earth that we inhabit, and we do not thank her enough. It's probably also a reminder to stay grounded, to keep yourself stabilized, especially when there's this like, when things are changing, things are regenerating, like, it could be like really, really exciting or really, really scary. Either way, the energy can be a little bit like all over the place. So maybe just a subtle reminder to keep yourself grounded, which is, again, another reminder that we always use. So that is what I have as far as the cards and the astrology for this intention. Again, I think this is an intention that you can bring with yourself as long as you want. But especially through like the next month or so, I allow internal and external regeneration. I don't know, like the two go in hand, right? So like if you start to change things within yourself, if you start to regenerate somehow within you, whatever that means for you, as that process happens, eventually things are going to show up externally. Things are going to show up publicly. And that's what we get across the axes of the chart too, is that as things change either publicly, externally, and as the situations around us change, it's going to change something within us, whether it's just our perspective or the amount of energy that we have because of like different activities and things that we have to do. But it goes hand in hand. Like when things change around us, it changes something within us. When something changes within us, it changes things around us. You see that a lot with people that make like big lifestyle changes. They'll change one thing and then all of a sudden, like, my life has never been this good. Something like that. So I hope you are just as excited about this intention as I am. I like this. Internal and external regeneration. Internal, external regeneration. Anytime I think of regeneration, I don't know if any of you are Doctor Who fans, but I think about when the Doctor regenerates and changes form. If you're not familiar, I'm not going to go into that, but if you know who the Doctor is, you know that he changes faces. And I think about that like changing light that starts from within, and then all of a sudden it shows on the outside, and then it's this big, huge, overwhelming light, and then you have a different figure. That you end up with than what you came out with. So that's my own visualization. You guys have your own. You guys can share them or keep them to yourself or whatever there. So that's what I have going into our meditation here. We'll try to keep it short because I jumped on a couple minutes late today. Sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties, which thankful I have a husband that has backup equipment and things when things break, because electronics do break occasionally. So we have our intentional candle here. As always, I will go ahead and let you take one more look at that intention on the screen before I take it away. I allow internal and external regeneration. I allow internal and external regeneration. I'm going to take our intention down. Keep that in your head. Feel free to write it down if you'd like to. So we have our intentional candle as always. I also have a very lovely scented candle burning behind me that I got in the Upper Peninsula when we were there over this past week. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where I live, which is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful up there. So I have a couple candle energies going on that have just been really, really lovely and just feel very, very centering. I don't know, the scents and aromatherapy thing really seems to kind of be appealing to me at the moment. So our intentional candle is white as always. I like to leave it white because it's some color. You can change it into any color you want it to be. You can amplify the energy from white. White is the color of protection and universal energy. So we can take this and we can spread it out any which way that we want to. So as I light the intentional candle, I'm going to recite the intention out loud. Feel free to say it with me, either out loud or in your head, or any capacity that works for you with where you are at the moment. So, hello, intentional candle. It's been a couple weeks. This candle actually has been bearing with me because this candle was actually already set up for a couple weeks ago, ready to go, and I left it hanging for a couple weeks until now. So thank you for waiting for me. All right, so we're going to light our intentional candle here. And the flame ignites, the flame grows. As the flame grows, so does our intention. I allow internal and external regeneration. I allow internal and external regeneration. I allow internal and external regeneration. Let's spend a little bit of time regenerating our own personal energy and our own personal breath. Let's start by taking a moment to recognize the space that you are in right now, the level of energy that you showed up here with today, the condition of your breath currently. Not judging or changing anything, just noticing how you showed up here today. For me, it's the end of the day. So there has been a whole slew of events that has led to the level of energy that I have right now. Same goes for you. When we are able to notice the breath, acknowledge where our breath stands, without judging ourselves, or condoning or condemning any sort of feelings we have towards the energy that we carry, whether we think it's lovely or something that should be changed. You're able to step back in a way that allows you to observe in a way that you wouldn't have been able to before. It allows you to have compassion, sympathy, and empathy, understanding for yourself. It allows you to regenerate your energy internally into a higher, more positive, more beneficial or ideal state, more relaxing, more effective, whatever the version of improvement looks like to you. After you've taken a moment to sit with your breath and see where you're at, we then slowly start to deepen. First the inhale, and then the exhale. Here, as always, our goal is nothing more than to just make each inhale slightly longer, slightly more filling than the one before it, and each exhale slightly longer and releasing slightly more air than the one before it. No other requirements, no judgments. Empathy, understanding, and a regeneration of your breath as you breathe in and breathe out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing out. I'd like you to think about the process that has been happening and occurring within your own life as you continue to breathe in and out. What has been at the forefront of your life lately? Where do you see the focus? Where do the stories keep bringing you back to? The events, the situations, the people, the conversations. What keeps showing back up in your life? It comes back around somehow. Then we know that it is to get our attention in some way. And there's something more that we're missing. So just as when planets go retrograde, like Saturn and Neptune, we'll be doing shortly, there's this reworking and this revisiting, this showing back up of themes, this revisiting. When there's more to get, more to learn, more to experience, more to take away from how that theme is playing out within your life. And I want you to take this idea of yours, this theme, situation, thought, whatever has been at the forefront of your life lately. You know that there's more there. You know that there's something else to be had to be said, to be experienced, to be expressed, to be learned, to be gained, maybe even to be lost. I need to take this thing, and I want you to feel yourself bring it within your being, nice and close to you. If there's some difficulty surrounding this, feel yourself bringing this thing to you in a loving, nurturing, and comforting way. Hold on to this thing the way that Mother Earth, the way that Gaia holds on to us and supports us. Lovingly, understandingly, and forever. Send love, send understanding to whatever this thing is that you're focusing on. Bringing it so close to your being that you feel it become a part of you. And this love and this understanding that you are sending to where your focus is right now extends to you as a person, as a being, and as a soul. As you bring that within you, bringing that love and that understanding within you, it becomes a part of you. And as this thing becomes part of you, internal regeneration. The love and the acceptance, the joy and the fulfillment, the understanding and the praise, but we know that there is more to be had here. The story is not done with what we are focusing on. As the regeneration process continues, changing within you, it starts to illuminate from within you, and it lights up in such a way that you cannot contain it within your being anymore. Your focus, which is partially yours to hold, extends out into the area surrounding you, reaching out to your environment, reaching out to other people that may be involved, resources, assets, all of the external things surrounding your focus. And as it radiates and extends away from your body, reaching these external sources, you start to see the change, you start to see the fulfillment, and you start to see the regeneration. Picturing how it seems that the best outcome would be for you. Picturing this thing reaching for whatever other parts are around, physically visualizing these things that are specific to you in your own path, in your own current situation. This This energy from within you that has now reached into the spaces around you continues to extend up into the ethers of the universe, extending way beyond Earth, further than we could ever even fathom. Going and going and going and going, regenerating a small part of the universe that extends beyond and beyond and beyond. You showing up here for yourself shows that you are on a regenerative process. Whether that shows up for you in a big way or a small way, whether it shows up for you occasionally or daily. If you are showing up to a contemplative and meditative space in any sort of capacity, you are on the path of regeneration, both internally and externally. And today I thank you for showing up, not only for myself and for this group and for this meditation, but showing up for yourself. Showing up for yourself in a way that is not always easy. But you make the time, you make the space. And for that, you are amazing and on your way to wherever you're going. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you. I allow internal and external regeneration. Specific, but broad. This is a really good one for specific, but broad. But empowering, like Rob said, reaching many of us, like Melissa said, and it's a process, and I think we are in the middle of a process. So, thank you, all of you, for being here. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you all again next week. Next week is the 4th of July week, so if you all are not around, the replays are always there, so remember, you can check those out. Look Sunday for a new intention. They usually come out later Sunday, so that way you can spend a little time with it yourself. I really encourage you just to kind of see what comes up. First thoughts be a great journaling prompt, or just think about it and just see what shows up for you, and then bring that here with you, and then compare and see how that is. So thank you all of you. Yeah, I'm glad that, puppy jumped up on the couch. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. I am here, so reach out at any time. Look for a new intention on Sunday, and I will see you back here Tuesday. So have a great rest of your week, and enjoy that regenerating energy that you have within you, reaching near and close, far and wide. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. I will see you all later. Like I said, reach out at any time. So have a good night.